Hey guys, welcome back for another video of Shenanigans. I'm Jen.
And I'm Anthony. And today
We're making cheese!
So we started this video about a year ago now, and we literally started the whole video. And then we got to the part where we needed to add a specific ingredient, and it was not in the box. So, a year later, hoping all the supplies are still good, we're going to actually make cheese today.
We're missing rennet, which pretty much makes the curds of the cheese. It helps it curdle. Yeah. And our package didn't have it. So just our supplier, for some reason, had opened the boxes and had an incomplete kit. But we fixed it. We got it good. This is Ricky's cheese making kit. And Ricky, the brand or the company, makes a bunch of different kits like this. You can get them all kinds of
different cheeses. So many different kinds.
You can get them at homebrew stores if they carry them, or there's also a website where you can order it and order your kit, or you can find it on Amazon. So if you're interested in kind of doing what we're doing here, then you can go on there to get your own kit.
All right, let's get started.
Yay!
Okay, so we went ahead and we took our rennet tablet and we cut it into a quarter. We're only going to use a quarter piece, and that is going to be dissolved in a small amount of water.
And the recipe instructions say do a quarter cup of water without chlorine. Then we're going to use our citric acid that came with our kit.
Now the kit comes with 8 ounces, but you're not going to use the whole amount. This kit is designed for several batches. It says for 30 batches, so you're only going to use a small amount of it. Now these bags of the cheese salt and the citric acid, they don't have anything like a resealable opening, so you'll have to use a Ziploc bag or something else to seal it up.
And you will dissolve your citric acid in a cup of water.
Now, one thing we should have gone over was the milk we used. It specifies for certain cheeses you want to have non-homogenized, or it shouldn't be homogenized, and you don't want to have it ultra pasteurized. It needs to be just regularly pasteurized, less than 172 degrees temperature. The milk we have locally is Borden. It's the only milk we can find that is actually non-homogenized and not ultra pasteurized.
All right, we're gonna have our milk in your pot and your cup of water with the citric acid, and you're gonna pour it in, and it says to stir vigorously. All right, and now to start heating up your milk. We are going to heat this up until our thermometer reads 90 degrees Fahrenheit. Your kit also comes with the cheese thermometer. So once it starts to heat up a bit, I'll go ahead and check the temperature and see where we're at. So we are using a non-stick pot in your directions. It's really helpful, and it tells you what you can and can't use. It highly suggests not to use any cast iron to avoid any chemical reactions with the milk and the chemicals that are being put into your milk.
So the main concern is that you don't want any kind of aluminum or iron or anything that can react with the milk. If you have stainless steel, you can use that. If you have treated aluminum, I'm not sure the exact term, but it's got a protective layer on it, and as long as it's been treated properly and maintained properly, you can use that as well. And the non-stick, that protective layer over the aluminum, is fine as well. But because what we have here is non-stick, and we've made sure there's no scratches in it, no gouges, we don't want the aluminum to come in contact with the milk.
We did it. Okay, so we take it off the heat. Then,
all right, so we got the temperature up to 90 degrees. We have our rennet solution. We're going to go ahead and stir that in after we took it off the burner.
Okay.
And it says to use an up and down motion to mix in the rennet instead of like a circular stirring motion.
And we're going to do this for 30 seconds. And then we're going to let it sit covered for 5 minutes. Then come back and check on the curds. This cheese making kit also makes ricotta.
Mozzarella and ricotta.
I actually don't like ricotta.
Now, the kit itself was priced where we're at for $25, and it makes 30 batches. So essentially, if you can find citric acid, rennet, and cheese salt elsewhere, you don't need to buy the kit. It'll come with the instructions. It comes with a thermometer, and it comes with cheesecloth and stuff like that. But you don't necessarily have to buy the kit. It's just nice that everything comes in one. You have everything ready.
Lid me.
You might have to push it in.
No, it's set.
Okay.
We'll let it sit for 5 minutes. And we'll see you in a bit. So next we're going to go ahead and check once that minute is up to see if the curds and the whey have separated completely. If I move it and the whey is still a little milky, that means it hasn't extracted all of the fat or the milk curd that it can from it. So then we gotta let it sit for a couple more minutes. But it does say that if for some reason it didn't form any curd at all, then there might be something wrong with your milk. So that's also something that we're checking for.
All right.
I'm so nervous.
The bubbles are stuck there, so that's a good sign. I feel like. Oh yeah.
Oh, that's so
yeah.
cool.
That is
I
awesome.
don't know where I want to go ahead and show you guys.
All right. So they say that the texture should be like a custard,
Which it is.
and that's exactly what it is. So this is what you want to see.
Alright, and the whey is clear.
They
Kind of
did-
see it a little bit.
Yeah. The top being what it is already enough. We know we're good.
Alright, perfect.
So now we need to cut the curd. Now, please make sure to use an instrument that you can safely use with this process. We are going to be using a knife, which we shouldn't be using, but just be careful and don't scratch your pot if you're using a nonstick.
And we're cutting kind of like a checkerboard on this.
So they say you want to cut the curd like this because the more room between the curds, the more whey will be extracted from the curd. So if you just cut it like once across from left to right and once up and down, there's only going to be so much space for the whey to separate from the curd. So the more cuts you have, the more it will actually separate, and the better quality cheese you will get.
I might do more. I'm only doing like half an inch in between.
That's fine. I don't think we need to go crazy with it. I mean, this is not supposed to be like some difficult process. It's cheese. It's something that's been made for thousands of years.
Okay.
And the other way.
Now the other way.
All right. So
Okay.
now that you can see it a little bit better, you can actually see the separation of the liquid from the curd, and that's what we
Very
wanted to see.
good.
So, next step.
Alright, so we're actually going to save the whey in a little bit. Just kidding, not time to strain yet. Whoop. So we want to save the whey because in the recipe book you can make a pizza dough from the whey that's left. And I'm excited about that. Let's see. Okay, place the pot back on the stove. Heat it to 105 degrees while slowly moving the curds around with your spoon. Oh, if you will be stretching your curds with the water bath method instead of the microwave, heat the curds to 110. So I think we're going to do 110. Just to do the OG heating it
The
up.
ice or the water bath?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, we're gonna do it. Go ahead. Are we gonna need this again?
No.
Okay.
Oh.
So excited. I hope y'all are getting this because that is the coolest thing ever. So in case y'all didn't know, this is our very first time making this. So this is not like this is a trial run. We've never done this before. This is not a channel where we do it first and then we perfect it and then show you a great video. This is going to be the first time we've done anything like this. And that's why this channel was created. Learning experience for everybody.
You are gonna drop your... I think the curds were all the way to the bottom.
Yeah, I think so too. Now it did say gently stir. It didn't say like vigorously. So that's why she's stirring it so slow. We're not trying to break up the curds. We're just trying to move it around to disperse the heat evenly. All right, so we've reached 110 degrees. We've turned off the stove.
And it says to...
I'm gonna take it off the burner.
And then stir it for 2 to 3 minutes to get a firmer curd. I do feel it firmer. Like as I'm
Stirring it?
as I was stirring, they weren't as delicate.
Okay. That's good.
How do you make cheddar cheese? Oh wait, doesn't it do? Never mind.
This doesn't.
Not this one, but
there
I
are
think,
kits that do it, yes.
Yeah, I think Ricky's does
Oh,
make
yeah.
a cheddar
That's
cheese.
what I was saying. They have literally like every cheese known to man, even Parmesan. In fact, I think the cheddar and Parmesan kit. Like I think it's a cheddar and Parmesan kit.
Stirring. So another thing we found out while reading our instructions, the website has a search engine to find fresh milk or raw milk near you.
Local raw milk.
Which is really exciting.
We will be trying that, but it is very expensive.
It was $8 a gallon, but...
I mean, the milk we already bought was $4 a gallon where we live, which is
was
a
it
little...
Borden's?
Yeah, Borden. For us here in Texas, the local milk is around between $2 to $3 a gallon. So Borden being $4 is actually a little bit higher than normal for like what we're buying, what we're used to buying. But we wanted to specifically get milk that's not homogenized.
So that might be our next video.
Making it from raw milk.
Yep, using the raw milk. Look at the little tiny babies.
All right, so now we're gonna go ahead and separate this. You can use a cheesecloth, you can just pour it, you can use the ladle, however you want to do it. The purpose is to get the whey out. Now you don't have to keep the whey, but we are going to try to keep the whey and use it in other recipes that we've seen online. So however you want to go about this is up to you, but your whole purpose is just getting the curd out of the whey. All right, so we are folding the cheese, which is slowly squeezing out the whey, and we are currently heating up another pot of water, just plain water, to 185? 180? 180 degrees. And that way what we're going to do is we're going to be pulling the cheese, we're stretching it, so that way it gets that elasticity to it like mozzarella has. But you want to keep pressing the whey out because you want this to be not firm cheese, but you don't want it to be like falling apart and just like silly putty.
It does smell like mozzarella already.
Alright, so we are at 185, and now we are going to start heating the cheese in a colander, so that way we can take it right back out of the liquid and stretch it as needed.
We can use this one.
Okay, will it fit?
Yeah.
You go ahead and do that. My hands have not been cleaned properly for this.
Okay.
Just remember you're going to have to get your hand down in there for that, so, because like the whole cheese has to be, so the steam's going to be on your hand. Actually, that'll be fine because the rubber's on the bottom, right? There's a rubber pad on the bottom of this?
I don't think this one does.
Oh.
These do.
Let's make sure it's
This
not.
one does.
Okay. All right, so we're just letting it heat up to the point where it stretches like taffy, it says.
It has to dip it several times.
Okay.
That's cool.
You can feel the difference in texture now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So this is what we had after. Kind of lumpy. And as we're heating it up, it's kind of staying together more.
You can drop it in. All right, so we are setting these after we've already formed them and stretched them until they're nice and shiny. We're putting this in a cool temperatured water just to cool them off for about 5 minutes. And then from there, we'll put them in an ice bath for about 15 minutes, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then we can eat them. I can't wait. I'm so excited. Harden like that.
I wonder how many times you're supposed to stretch it like taffy.
Well, did you already put the salt in?
No, I did not.
Okay. Well,
All right.
put this back in.
We're going back in, people.
So we forgot to put the salt into the cheese before we put it into the cool water. So we're gonna heat it up again. We're gonna put the salt in, which we separated it out as about a half teaspoon per half of the cheese curd because it calls for 1 teaspoon of salt for the batch. So we have a half teaspoon here, and this is just what's left over from the other one. So we're just gonna pretty much dump this on top of that and then stretch it multiple times to get it worked through. And we want to stretch it enough that we know that the cheese is fully dispersed throughout the cheese. So it's gonna be a bit. Kind of just measure this out over the sink.
Okay. To try to do it separately?
Just to make sure it's actually a half teaspoon.
Oh, okay.
Because we already did the salt on the other one. Yeah, but I think you put more than a whole teaspoon in here. Did you do rounded? Because look, that's like a good 1/8 of a teaspoon right there, and this is a half and the other one was a half. So you're about to try to kill me with salt, huh?
I asked if you wanted to use salt substitutes.
Sure, we did. All right.
Nope.
See if it's malleable, pliable. I wonder which word it's the proper word.
Yeah,
Good.
this one's good.
So we're gonna put that on top. So I'm just gonna sprinkle this all over. It's gonna be a lot, I know, but we're gonna mix it thoroughly. Stretch that, put it on top, and then you're gonna stretch those together. Stretch and fold, stretch and fold, stretch and fold.
Stretch and fold,
Lots.
stretch and fold.
You're literally just working it like taffy. You're just pulling it apart, putting it together, pulling it apart, putting it together. It is gonna be hot, so just keep that in mind. Wear gloves if you need to. Seems like that might be good for some people.
I think we should throw it back in.
Fine. Yeah, I think we need to stretch it a lot once we put the salt into it because it does need to be stretched a lot.
So should I put it back in?
Yes, I would. All right.
We're finally done.
We're done. So that took a lot longer than the box said. It said it should be done in 30 minutes, and it took us about an hour and a half. Now, I'll attribute that to the fact that this is our very first time ever making it, so it was a mix between going back and looking at directions compared to heating the cheese to what we knew it needed to be at. They say to heat the cheese for the stretching process up to 135 degrees. Well, people who make cheese, I'm assuming, don't need to check the temperature. They just check the consistency so they know when it's done right away and they're just good to go. So there was a lot of trial and error, and finally we got it. And now we have some beautiful balls of mozzarella that we're going to cut into, and we're going to eat in front of you.
So this whole piece, or all of this, is only half of the curds that we were able to get from a whole gallon of milk. So for a $4 gallon of milk,
And $1 worth of supplies from the kit. That's all we needed.
is pretty large size mozzarella. So you want to do a little one, or
Let's cut into this one just to cut a slice off.
I'm going to cut through the middle, see what it looks like. It's kind of hard since we just got it out of the ice water bath.
Looks like mozzarella to me.
Perfect mozzarella, it's looking like. There's a slice for you.
I'm getting a little overexcited.
There's a slice for me. Alright, 1,
Cheers.
2, cheers! 3. Mmm. It was really good. So you can see the layers.
Yeah. I will say this. It's a little saltier than I'm used to mozzarella being. But
This tastes like the bag mozzarella.
Yeah.
Not like the fresh mozzarella.
Yeah, this does not. So, like, if you go to most supermarkets, at least where we're at, you can find like little balls of fresh mozzarella. It's even floating in some of the whey, I believe.
We could try putting half of it in the whey that we saved.
You can try that.
I'm gonna eat more.
Anyways, keep in mind that the directions for the salt, it's not imperative that you use the full amount. It does say that the salt is optional. The salt plays a part in being a preservative, so it lasts longer. But at the same time, if you're planning on eating it within a quick enough time frame, or you can even freeze it. Honestly, you can freeze mozzarella with no problem, and it's fine. But if you are not putting as much salt, just want to freeze it or eat it a little bit quicker. But I mean, it's not going to be as salty. Honestly, next time we make this, I think we're probably going to cut the salt in half, and it'll just taste nice and fresh, not actually salted. Because this literally just tastes like the shredded mozzarella in a bag that you buy at any supermarket. It tastes good.
See all the layers. Why am I getting so many hairs on my hand?
Like when you peel it, like you can actually like peel back like layers of where it was like pulled and stretched and everything and folded together. It's delicious.
So that's really nice
Oh,
to
no.
see. It's gone.
It's okay, I have a lot more.
Well, we're gonna go ahead and enjoy the rest of our mozzarella. Thank you guys for coming along on the ride. There was a lot of downs, but this was the ultimate up that we got really good cheese.
I want to thank you guys for watching. This is something that I'm enjoying doing. Making cheese, learning how to do new things.
So
This
fun.
is definitely something I'm going to be doing again. I want to learn to make other stuff like cheddar and even Parmesan. We've already made, I'm not going to try and say it. How do you say it?
Oh, queso fresco.
So it's like a crumbly cheese that comes in a block and you just like rub it together and it falls into these crumbles and it's a Mexican cheese.
It's Mexican fresh cheese.
And it was so good.
It was delicious.
Incredible.
And you actually don't need all these chemicals. All it asked for was a gallon of milk, vinegar, and some lime juice and salt. So it was pretty easy.
Pretty basic stuff.
Basic, but it did call for the regular raw milk or pasteurized milk, and then since I bought that at the grocery store, they suggest to add about a cup of plain yogurt to kind of help with the fat content. So that was kind of nice that where I went kind of suggested that. But besides that, it was pretty easy.
Alright.
And by the end of the day, I was eating cheese.
So if you like this video, make sure to give it a like and subscribe if you want to see any more content from us. If you have any questions or comments that you want to give us, we love feedback. I would love to be told anything I did wrong because I'm learning. That's literally the point of this channel. So if I'm doing something wrong, please tell me. Let me know so I can do a little bit more research into it. But we love to hear from you guys if y'all have anything to say. But I want to thank you all so much for watching and have a wonderful day.
Bye. Oh!
What happened?
I dropped it inside.
That's going in the bloopers.
Says heat them up to 90 degrees Fahrenheit. Oh my god, was I reading the Fahrenheit?
Yes. No, you weren't.
No, I wasn't!
And the other way.
Now the other way. The other way.
My wife, you guys. The queen of puns.
It's got a ways to go.
A ways to go.
Yes, that's what I laughed. I love our cheese.
I dropped another piece.
Babe!